Normally at Summit, we don't talk a lot about Resource Pro. We focus on the industry, we focus on your pains, your aspirations, what you're trying to accomplish, and we exchange ideas and share opportunities. But we felt like, given this seismic change in Resource Pro, shifting from business process management to agentic process management, we felt like we owed it to you to spend some time explaining what we're doing. And that's exactly what I'm going to do today, is spending a little bit of time doing something different, showing you how we're navigating this shift to agentic process management. Because AI in insurance is still nascent. It's growing. It's new. And a lot of it can be noise. If you were at my roundtable today, we talked about how in the world do you evaluate AI solutions effectively, knowing what's smoke and mirrors, what is real, what questions to ask. So today we're going to do three things in the next 15 or so minutes. I'm going to tell you what we've been hearing from clients at your locations, over the phone, over lovely Zoom. I want to tell you what we've been building in response, and then I want to show you some things that we've been building in response right here on these screens. So let's just go ahead and dive into it. So first, I want to tell you what we've been hearing. These are the three things and themes that I've been hearing most. One is we don't know which AI bets are real, because in reality, it is a bet. When you're going to spend time and money and attention and trying to see if an AI solution is right for your company, that's an investment. Even if there's no dollars up front, that is an investment. So which bets are you wanting to make? Number two, pilots aren't turning into production. When you've made that investment, you have an organization that's working with a vendor to try to see if it's the right solution, and it doesn't turn into something that generates ROI. Holy smokes, there's nothing worse than spinning tires. Last one, we need a partner and not another tool. With so many different companies vying for your attention, we need somebody that's nonpartisan, somebody that's willing to tell me where I should be looking and why. So if any of those sound familiar, you're not alone. This is the room. You're all facing very similar challenges. So the rest of what I'm going to be sharing today is how we're addressing those and things we've been seeing. So Dan has spent a little bit of time, a fantastic job, explaining how Resource Pro has been built over time, first in specialized BPO. So first, as we just said, we're going to take the work off your plate. We're going to make your life easier. Fantastic. Not only did we do that, but that generated and developed a lot of expertise. So we were able to optimize, improve, refine processes with that expertise, and that operated with discipline. The third layer is this one that Dan has also mentioned, that I'll hit on one more time, of agentic process management. Building on top of this layer of intelligence or precision, and then moving to intelligence. So it's different from BPM because now that work isn't executed by humans. The lion's share of that work is done by agents. Same operational discipline exists underneath the surface. That's the shift, is the lion's share of the work is now done by agents, but supervised by humans, and that's what we're going to spend a majority of my time talking about. So now we're going to go to anatomy class. You know, we've heard this term, this acronym. We can throw out acronyms. We're really good at that in insurance. Acronyms are great. So let's just talk about what actually makes agentic process management in digestible terms. First is ingestion. So the work comes in, whether it's a loss run package, a benefits package, a policy document, whatever it is, it needs to go and to get into the system, an agent. And whether it's different formats, it's different channels, different volumes, it needs to be agnostic to the input. So it needs to be received, ingest. Number two, it needs to extract. And we're all learning and becoming experts in agents, AI, that's why we're here. But the layman would say, hey, that's the AI. The AI is getting stuff off of a document and putting it in the right place. The interesting part is AI is getting so good that this is becoming table stakes. Extraction alone isn't the product anymore. It's actually just what's expected. So the next step on this curve is normalize. That's where it really gets interesting. Carriers, brokers, they don't speak the same language. That's where the complexity lives. So there's a lot of different terminology that is actually synonymous. And that is, and in my roundtable today, we talked about the steel trap, that a lot of people in your organization will say, it's locked up right up here. I got it. But the interesting thing is, to make agents functional across offices, across processes, you have to have normalization capability. And what's great is ReSource Pro has done that now for 20 years. And we can capture it. And we can now make it programmatic in nature inside these agents. The next one is calculate. Whatever math this workflow requires, premium reconciliation, loss ratios, coverage comparisons, appetite scoring, the agent does the math the same way without fatigue, just like your best analyst would. So now there's verify. Notice the pretty blue color. A little emphasis here. So this is the step where often people skip or they consider it to be an add-on or the safety check, right? So this is where expert supervision lives, and we're going to talk a little bit more detail about this here in a second. But anything uncertain needs to be routed to an expert to verify it is correct. And then lastly, we have return, but it needs to be a structured return. It can't just be throwing you a hot pile of mess and say, hey, I did it. Awesome. My kindergartner can do that. I need it actually looking pretty. I need it nice. So returning it in a clean format that your system expects. So this is 6 steps that are repeatable, and we're going to point to this architecture throughout time. So the real part here is we have 20 years of knowing exactly what these 6 steps need to look like across repeatable, judgment-based, and document-heavy workflows. Like I said, I want to put some emphasis on this verify where expert supervision lives. I've been saying that it's no longer just human in the loop. It's not just an afterthought. It's not just somebody that sits down and says, yeah, I can spot check that. That generally looks good. No, if we're going to have agents do the lion's share of the work, we need an expert to verify the outcomes and be a part of the architecture of the system and no longer just a fallback plan. So it is the task manager of the agentic era. So I will say most of my friends and anybody who's at the roundtable with me knows I am an AI junkie. Like, I use it to plan breakfast for my family. I use it a lot. So, but I'm the first one to say that not every problem needs agentic solutions right now. So we still have, a ReSource Pro very much has BPM involved in expert run operations. There still needs to be clicks and drags and keystrokes inside of your system. And I'm not advocating to have Lord of the Flies agents inside of your AMS or policy admin system. That is not the case. There still needs to be BPM that exists inside of your expert run operations inside your systems. But we just spent 2 slides talking about the advantages of APM, agentic process management, for repeatable, document-heavy, judgment-based operations that it can exist in a separate environment. And we also have technology services to prepare your data, to make sure you're ready for AI, deploy AI infrastructure at scale. Or it's just to make sure that systems are integrating and talking well together. So our job, and what I do with Amber as well as others, is we help diagnose what you actually need while staying neutral. Not having my thumb on the scale and saying, yeah, agents, for sure, 100%, always. We want to make sure the right solution is given to you in the right way. Okay, so now we've talked a lot about concepts, theory, and cool, pretty charts, but let's talk a little bit of brass tacks. So will you please help me welcome Amber Brethouwer, who leads our strategic accounts, SVP of strategic accounts. So this is the part where I stop talking and ask Amber some questions, because she really has seen so many instances communicating with you, our clients, and understanding the voice of the customer quite a bit. So, Amber, you've been having a lot of conversations with large accounts. What are the actual problems that partners keep bringing to ReSource Pro in this world of AI?
Yeah, I think the theme remains pretty consistent with what we've heard for the past 23 years as a business process management organization. There's lots of work that needs to be done. It's labor intensive. And there's a view that potentially AI could be used as an opportunity to help create capacity or eliminate that work. I think in general, we believe that's true. We agree with that concept that AI could be used to more effectively process much of the work that ReSource Pro supports its clients with today, or to replace some of the work that ReSource Pro does that's lower in value with higher value work by using AI to make that work more efficient. I think in general, there is a view or a lot of discussion happening within the industry that, and it's hard not to see it happening with, I'm sure the Insurtech demand is incredible, and you probably are all getting 10, 20, 30 emails on a weekly basis with some new Insurtech solution to every problem. But generally, as you saw from Dan's information earlier today, the results and the outcomes are not generally being achieved by Insurtech alone. And so I think most of the conversations that ReSource Pro is having today is how can we help find the right balance between the process expertise, understanding the workflows, being able to optimize the workflows, and then applying AI in a way that can create a more effective outcome to that particular task.
Perfect. So you mentioned a lot. They're bombarded with emails. There's a lot of evaluation. There's people kind of screaming for the attention. I mean, it's lucky we have them all in the same room and they're looking at us. Their attention is so valuable. So then, with so many people vying for their attention, why do you have your clients continue to come to you and say, Amber, I need help understanding this AI space? Why are people calling you?
I mean, I think that going back to Dan's presentation earlier today, kind of starting at the bottom of the org chart, so most of the work that ReSource Pro is doing pretty effectively to support our clients on creating capacity within their own associate or workforce, we are the bottom of the org chart. So we are the ones that are the closest to what that particular task and the workflow is. We have the greatest insight or understanding often to what are the necessary variances which exist in that process. We also know where the unnecessary variances in those processes are and can make recommendations to help bring that process to a more optimized standard. And then, having that level of expertise, knowledge, and domain, I think our clients often trust that then we can help identify what would be the best set of steps to get that to a more automated or, if appropriate, to use AI to perform that particular function even better. I think when you're closest to the process and the work and how it's performed, you are in the best position to help determine how you can use technology to even improve upon that.
Great. Yeah, I totally agree with that. Last question then here for me at least is across these engagements, right? I'm not as naive to think that it is, and nor would I want it to be very easy just to say, do this and it's blindly accepted and we just run with it, right? So that naturally there's dialogue and discourse on how and when to adopt. So with these large account types of conversations, where do partners usually push back? Where do they have questions, concerns?
Well, I think Dan touched on a couple of the points this morning, right? So there are a number of strategic initiatives across the organizations represented here where there is a go-do to implement AI to solve some big business problem. So there's a strategic goal and objective, must use AI. So approaching ReSource Pro from a business process management perspective may not achieve that particular corporate initiative associated with AI. When the reality is the focus should be more on a particular business problem that needs to be solved or a particular business outcome that an organization needs to achieve, and maybe it's a particular function where they need to improve the service or the turnaround time, or maybe it's a particular task or function where you need to add even greater value to your client, or a particular function that you need to do at a lower price point. So you can look at the particular business outcome and challenge, as you were describing earlier. Sometimes the recommendation or the best course of action might be to optimize that process and then build an AI agent that ReSource Pro can then supervise to get the work processed and achieve whatever the goal or outcome is. Sometimes AI may not be the right solution for that particular problem. And then ultimately, I think there's a lack of confidence about whether of the risk associated with picking a particular solution, having that be kind of a gamble, and that you're hoping that you reach the particular goal or outcome. You're hoping that you'll get to the 30%, 50%, 80% cost savings. You're making a significant investment in whatever that software or that solution is, and hoping that you get the right ROI. And I think in most of the conversations that ReSource Pro has pretty frequently with its clients, with using the APM model, I think we're able to make a stronger commitment to what that outcome is. So if the goal is we want to reduce the handle time of a particular task or activity by a third, then ReSource Pro can basically look at the technology options, make the recommendations, and say, okay, here's our commitment to what it looks like in order to reduce the handle time of a process by that 35%. So I think the challenge is a lot of it just there being an uncertainty, a lack of sort of commitment, or guarantee that the ROI is going to be achieved. And I think ReSource Pro is an option to help kind of lock in on whatever that service level commitment or that ROI commitment is, that is the goal that's actually going to help drive revenue or improve margins within an organization.
Yeah, no longer AI for the sake of AI. You got to have some return in there. That's exactly right. Well, to that end of actually showing the proof is Amber and I wanted to show you guys some things that is actually in flight for us in this APM structure. So we're going to show you a couple demos up here. First one is our loss run APM module in practice. So at this point, we have 40 different carrier loss run formats. Really, loss runs is some of the most common, painful, variable workflows in commercial insurance. And they can be processing a package by hand, can take anywhere from minutes or hours, depending upon the volume, the structure, the document types. And our Agentic module takes that same package and does that 6-step architecture. I needed another finger. 6-step architecture. In order to format it and do those 6 steps to produce a structure to your systems to effectively ingest those loss runs. So I want to show you. So this is a unique window into an APM module because it has 3 different panels. On the left-hand side, you see what an administrator sees. So this is where you can optimize and make modifications into logical checks, financial checks, confidence thresholds on when you want a supervisor, an expert supervisor, to evaluate. The center panel is the processing view, so you'll see the outcomes of where somebody's seeing data and the confidence thresholds that they need to evaluate. And then the right-handed is where you're going to see normalized output. So it's 3 different personas and perspectives in one. We just loaded sample data here, which was that same 6 steps, but has 15 claims extracted in different formats from different carriers, normalized into one schema, meaning pattern or structure. The agent ran 102 financial checks, 100 passed automatically, 2 need human review. And this is where the verify lives. The agent doesn't guess. It has an algorithm based upon multiple LLMs or large language models that are baked into our guardrailed and governed environment that is looking for exceptions. And then the processor is going to evaluate those outcomes because they are the experts. They're going to click into it and be able to verify specifically in that document where something might have been wrong. Can double check inside that document. And you see those options on the right-hand side of confirm, the AI pulled it correctly, correct it, or flag for escalation. This is where the optimization of our APM layer continues, as it continues to see situations that have pattern or historical evidence. It will optimize it over time. So that is the benefit of having that expert verification that is paramount to the continued success of artificial intelligence inside of your operational infrastructure. So here is when you save and reset, save and hit next. You can go through those individual discrepancies or questions by itself. And then on that right-hand side, just as a re-emphasis, you can ignore the coding colors and structure. That is just what this machine is going to send out to your systems for structuring inside of your policy admin system. So the next one, I want to show you a second one. This is an employee benefits comparison product that we're working on, and we're really close to pilot. So in this situation, you can drop in documents. We have some fake documents we're going to compare. Here is the queue for a processor to recognize. You'll see that that one's queued. There's one that's ready for review. They're going to click into it. This looks similar to a spreadsheet, but they're going to be that expert supervisor. They're going to go ahead and approve all the green fields that were above 95% confidence. I think they're actually all 100% confidence. And then they're going to run through the verification and the check of anything below that threshold to ensure that the outcome was correct. It's the same 6 steps every time. That's why we spent so much time on that original slide, on that diagram, which says there are 6 really important parts to this structure of agentic process management. It's the same operational layer underneath. It's the same 6 steps, but the operational layer of our team being able to facilitate optimization of agentic behavior is the same between all of these layers. The beautiful part is this is really just the beginning of our ability to deploy our expertise inside of agentic behavior. And we're going to continue to build these modules over time to improve them, to optimize them, and to strengthen our capabilities to help you. And then we can come in and say, when is the best solution for BPM versus APM versus tech services to help you along this journey? And really exciting to see it continue to progress. So I want to point out something more historical. Is you've already seen the building blocks of APM over time. Really, Policy Insights and Direct Bill Complete are 2 APM modules that were already built that follow the same 6-step process and have seen incredible results. Policy Insights with dramatic reduction in turnaround time, 22% fewer errors, which means we're able to use that expert supervision to ensure no very limited false positive and false negatives, and a 2 million E&O exposure reduction. Direct Bill Complete, that 95% match rate is incredible from raw AI extraction. That's not after expert supervision, and then a 65% cost reduction. You now have seen the in-flight. So in a short amount of time, with the engineers that we brought on, we've been able to move really fast in our loss run product, APM module, and the employee benefits plan comparison module that has that 3-agent pipeline that follows that 6-step process across multiple carriers. So here's really the punchline, is talking, Amber actually mentioned commitment, very timely, is we don't want you to feel like it's a bet. We don't want, especially with ReSource Pro, we want to be your partner. And it's no longer should we evaluate if we can utilize ReSource Pro in this area? Because we are your partner, and we don't have our thumb on the scale, and we're not wanting to push everything agent every time. We are with you through this shift. We're a business process partner yesterday and today. We're an agentic process partner today and tomorrow. Whatever combination makes sense for your business, Amber and I and our teams are ready to help you diagnose and understand what is the best solution. And we've already done the work. We've done the homework. And we meet you where you are. And when you're ready for that shift, we're already on the other side waiting for you and to help you get there.